Thank you, Jaron, for this invitation. I appreciate the fact that we're your highlight of the day. That takes a lot of faith, and I hope I don't crush your faith here. I don't have time or the ability to expound any new great truths to you about leadership, but maybe a story or two that have had meaning to me in my life and have applied in different environments, and they certainly apply to leadership. In 1908, our National Association was finding its birth, being founded in that year in Chicago. In 1913, our association was adopting the first code of ethics based on the Golden Rule as its theme. In 1916, the name of our association was changed to the National Association of Real Estate Boards, and the term realtor was adopted. And in 1920, our headquarters moved from Minneapolis to Chicago. It was in the 1920s in Chicago that Al Capone was reaching his height and strength and power and in his reign of fear and terror, getting great stronghold in Chicago. In 1927, a young man moved from St. Louis, an attorney. He moved to Chicago and began to associate with Al Capone, and in fact became his right-hand man, his attorney. His name, he was known as Easy Eddie. After a few years, Easy Eddie became uncomfortable with the situation, and in 1930 arranged a meeting with the IRS investigator, Frank Wilson, and at that time became Wilson's inside man in the Capone regime. Wilson said that he was the greatest inside man that he had ever seen. In 1932 and 33, through the court system, Easy Eddie was able to help the IRS and prosecutors bring down Al Capone. And in August of 1933, Capone was found guilty of tax evasion and sent to Alcatraz. It's just a few years after that, in fact a week before Al Capone was released from Alcatraz, that Easy Eddie was gunned down by two henchmen on a street in Chicago. Just a few years after that, America finds itself in the midst of World War II. In 1942, our association leaders established the Realtors Washington Committee, and they said it was to do our share in the war effort, to keep our members informed and to assist them to adjust their business to the war conditions. America was looking for leaders. They were looking for strong men, and also in 1942 they found a hero in a World War II fighter pilot by the name of Edward Henry O'Hare. He's known as Butch O'Hare. He was a lieutenant in the Navy. On February 20th, 1942, Butch O'Hare was on his carrier, and most of the fighter pilots from the carrier had taken off to intercept and engage a Japanese fighter squadron that had come in, and so they had taken off. And as they were off fighting that battle, the carrier recognized another set of 9 fighter planes coming in from the other direction. There were only 2 fighter planes left on the air carrier, Butch O'Hare's and his wingman, and they took off to intercept the 9 bombers. As they did so, his wingman found out that his guns were jammed and he was not able to engage in the fight. So Butch O'Hare engaged these 9 bombers on his own. Eventually, I don't want to go into all the details of it, but eventually shooting down 5 of them and damaging a 6th. The 3 remaining dropped their bombs on the Lexington, but all missed. Butch O'Hare returned to the ship, and as he was landing, one of the gunners on the ship accidentally fired on him, not doing damage, but nonetheless he was taking on friendly fire. As he landed, everything was fine, everything was safe, and he became the U.S. Navy's first flying ace. He also became the Navy's first Medal of Honor recipient. And later, after his death, he received the Navy Cross, Distinguished Flying Cross, and the Purple Heart. He became America's hero, a great leader, one that many, many look to. Jumping ahead just a little from there, in 1949, as Realtors and the Realtor Association, we received word from the Patent and Trademark Office that NAR's registration for the term Realtors and Realtor had been accepted. We got our name. Also in 1949, the Chicago area Orchard Depot Airport was renamed after this fighter pilot, Butch O'Hare. It was renamed the Chicago O'Hare International Airport. His good name had been recognized. What's interesting as you look at the story, you begin to wonder, as you look back and see the things that affected this man in his life and what caused these great things, you have to look back, and maybe he did as well. We don't know, but maybe he looked to his father, who in 1937 helped the IRS convict Al Capone of tax evasion. Did he look to his father, whose name was Edward Joseph O'Hare, EJ, also known as Easy Eddie? I think there's two leadership principles I kind of want to throw out here. One is, are we looking to those who came before us? As leaders, are we also followers? Do we look to the examples that we've had before? Russ is here. I don't mean to embarrass Russ. Every time you mention Russ's name, you embarrass Russ. But in 1996, Russ was, I believe at that time, president-elect of the National Association. As a young realtor and new in the business, I was taking a GRI class from the then president-elect of the National Association at the local level. Russ was looking ahead. He recognized that the need to develop leadership and develop young people coming through the system. He was volunteering his time despite how busy he was. So I look to Russ. I look to so many others that have come before me. The concept of following goes the other way as well. We as leaders need to look to those who will follow us and make sure we're doing the things that we need to do to promote their leadership abilities and their ability to work in our associations. The second leadership concept that comes from these stories is that of being a servant leader. In our local association, our leadership development, we have one of our past presidents who spends probably 6 or 8 hours through the process of this leadership program and going over the book, The Timeless Leader, showing that there's so many different leadership styles. But in each case, to be an effective leader, you've got to be a servant leader. Are we looking, are we becoming those that will follow us, or those that we serve even? Are we like Butch O'Hare? Can they look to us as leaders? Can they look to us as protecting them and protecting their best interests? In the association, I think that's one of our biggest responsibilities, is to make sure we're protecting our members. Even though there are times when we too take on friendly fire from within, our main responsibility is to make sure that we're doing the best for that membership and doing everything that we can. Sometimes we get involved in the grind and forget that, but we need to be concerned and thinking about our membership and doing what we can. As we're out there, if we're the fighter pilots, if we're in the leadership position, we're up there protecting those who are on the battleship, and that's our membership. And our membership is out there doing the best that they can to protect our country, which is our customers, our clients, and the general public. We need to be involved in serving them and doing what we can. So those are my concepts on leadership that I'd like to share with you, and thank you for the time. Thank you, Jaron.